I caught my ex's fiance having an affair with her maid of honor.
It's pretty bad timing.
Not very honorable. So backstory, I've known my ex, let's call him Ben, since I was a kid. He's always been very close to my family, to the point that my parents are basically serving as the de facto parents of the groom. By the way, this comes from Abel ALV, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So Ben and I started dating when we were 16 and broke up a year after college. It was a mutual decision. We both had a lot of emotional baggage, and it seemed like the best choice at the time. I ended up spending 18 months traveling and kind of bouncing around the world while he worked and stayed close to home. Ben met Hannah before I got back to the States, and they got engaged a few weeks after I got back. My mom is playing a big role in the planning process. Both of my brothers are groomsmen, and I'm actually a bridesmaid. So Hannah wanted me as one of her bridesmaids because I'm like the groom's sister. Gag me. But the closer the wedding gets, the more I see of both of them. First of all, full disclosure, I still carry a little bit of a torch for Ben. It's not a huge crush, but there's definitely a little something there. We dated for like 7 years. It's not a massive swooning crush, and I don't hold any resentment towards Hannah, but there's a little tiny bit of attraction there. And second of all, I'm fairly sure that he still carries a little bit of a torch for me. He made a couple of comments that suggested that he regretted breaking up even though he hasn't emotionally cheated or anything like that. It seems like he gave up on me and is ignoring any latent feelings and focusing on the present. So, moving on to the present, Hannah has 3 bridesmaids, me, a college friend, and a childhood friend. We are going to call her college friend Lucy. Lucy and Hannah are very close friends, and there's nothing wrong with that. Last weekend, my mom organized a kind of all-weekend DIY sleepover at her house. Basically, all of us, bridesmaid, bride, and a few others, like my boyfriend's girlfriend, were going to spend the weekend glue gunning favors and stuffing mason jars. So the first night, I got a weird vibe from Lucy, Hannah's college friend, like she was upset about something. I asked my brother's girlfriend, and she noticed the same thing. So Lucy, Hannah, my brother's girlfriend, and I were supposed to be sharing a room, while my brother's girlfriend had discreetly migrated to my brother's bedroom, so it was just the 3 of us. It felt really tense and weird, and I heard them start snapping at each other the moment I left the room. At this point, I was curious, so when I came back, I told them I was going upstairs, but I really just waited outside. I know, but it was my house, and I'm nosy as F's. The conversation was kind of muffled, but basically, Hannah said that she loved Ben, and then Lucy asked why she, Lucy, even bothered. And then Hannah backtracked and started talking about how she loved Lucy too, and that she didn't want to end things. So Lucy said that she had to make a choice. And then Hannah apologized, and it seriously sounded like there was some kind of physical affection. When I came back through the door, they weren't talking, and Hannah wouldn't look me in the eye. The next morning, the 2 of them had some kind of argument, and Lucy left right after. Hannah told my mom it was just something with Lucy's brother. So I told my brother's girlfriend about all of this, and she said that it made perfect sense based on their behavior over the weekend and that she believed me, but that she didn't think anyone else would because it wasn't like I had proof and I was the groom's ex-girlfriend. And there's really no polite way to ask my ex's fiance if she's cheating on him. I could try talking to Ben about it, but I highly doubt that he would believe me. I feel like I need to make sure that my ex doesn't make a massive mistake, but I feel like I don't know how to stop it. My brother's girlfriend is right. It's one of those things that doesn't sound credible if you weren't there. And there's Nedit. There seems to be virtually no consensus in this thread. Top level comments in order right now. Talk to Ben. Talk to your brother's girlfriend. Stay out of it. Anonymous note. Talk to your mom. Don't do anything. Talk to Lucy, talk to Hannah. I'm thinking I might actually start with Hannah. And there's an update. There was a lot of different opinions about how to deal with the situation. After talking it over with my brother's girlfriend, I decided to talk to Hannah, the bride, just in case she and Lucy, the maid of honor, had a really weird but logical explanation. I figured she couldn't go nuclear because my ex isn't the kind of guy to tolerate that crap, and my family would take my side if only because I'm related to them. Basically, she doesn't have enough power to shut me up. I did decide to record the convo and meet her in public just in case. So I texted her and we met yesterday after she finished work. Basically, we made a few minutes of small talk and then I pretty much just told her exactly what I heard. She calmly blew it off at first, but then she started getting really defensive and accusing me of violating her privacy, which is fair, I guess. But I pushed her a little bit more and she sort of reverted back to being sweet/nice. She told me that it was a huge secret, but the truth was that Lucy was in love with her and didn't like that she was getting married, but that Hannah didn't want to lose her as a friend. Sounded actually pretty plausible, and I was this close to actually believing her until I remembered the way she had told Lucy that she loved her. I tell my friends I love them every so often, but I don't say it like she did. So I just said that, well, you said you loved her, and then I heard you too. I kind of paused on purpose since I wasn't completely sure that the noise I heard was physical affection and figured she would fill in the blanks. She looked completely freaked out and totally lost her very calm/sweet vibe. Then she effing started sobbing and talking about how she loved Ben and he was so nice and she hadn't meant to hurt him. She kept talking about how nice he was, and I'm just kind of like, what the F is wrong with you? And then she started begging me not to tell anyone, that she would break things off with Lucy and blah, 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 and find a new bridesmaid. And I told her that she had to tell Ben or I would. And then said to me telling Ben would ruin everything, which pissed me off. So I said that she ruined everything when she decided to F her maid of honor. And then she started listing all of the stuff that they'd already planned for their wedding. And then she had the effing nerve to whine that Ben would be so devastated and we shouldn't do that to him, as if I'm partially responsible for any of this. She was getting more and more upset and irrational about it, so I decided to bail. I told her that she had to tell Ben that evening, or I would, and walked out the door. And then, nothing. I kept waiting for an uncomfortable phone call from one of them, or even secondhand news from someone in my family, but absolutely nothing. So I'm sitting there wondering if Hannah is trying some kind of cover-up or is just ignoring me in hopes that I just forget. Then at 1 a.m., I get this rambling message from her that started with, "Told him everything, leave him alone," and went on for a few sentences about how she and Ben both thought that I needed to grow up and stop trying to interfere with their lives. So it was actually kind of hurtful, and I was feeling crappy and sort of disappointed in Ben for letting it slide, if that makes sense. That feeling lasted until 8 a.m. the next morning, when this conversation happened. Ben, hey, can I borrow your cheap object he often borrows? Seriously? Why the F are you asking me for a favor right now? This is exactly when I realized that he didn't have an effing clue. So I called him and said that I needed to talk to you about something important, and he, probably reading my tone, said he could go into work a little late and meet me up for coffee. Now, I've known Ben for a very long time, and the minute I saw him walking towards me and looking cheerful and pleasant, I realized that she hadn't effing said a thing to him. Not that he's the kind of person who wears his emotions on his sleeve, but we went through some rough crap together, and I know when he's putting up a front and when he's genuinely happy. F. So I casually ask him about Hannah, and he says she's fine, and I ask if she mentioned that she and I got together yesterday afternoon. He's basically like, no, she didn't, but she was acting weird last night. What did you do? F-ity F. I tell him exactly what I heard over the weekend, and he was freaking shocked. He just sat there silently listening to me, telling him about what I had overheard and then the conversation with Hannah. When I got to the part about the text, he asked if he could see it, so obviously I showed him. He just seemed totally devastated. I offered to send him the recording of the conversation, but he brushed that off and he was being very stoic about it, which is kind of his MO. He said that he would take care of it, and I apologized, and he told me that I hadn't done anything and this was his mess, which was unfair because it wasn't his fault, and I told him this. He then had to go to work, and I went home. I think he ended up leaving at lunch because I got a text from him around 4 saying, "Broke things off, sorry to get you involved." And 20 minutes later, my mom called me to tell me that Ben and Hannah have called off the wedding, though she was trying to pump me for more information on the why, because Ben didn't seem to want to talk about what happened. Apparently, he told my brother, who's his best friend, and my brother's girlfriend, but everyone else is getting the we didn't see eye to eye on everything, and it's for the best. I think Ben basically told her that if she got the F out of his life and never returned, he wouldn't tell everyone exactly why they had broken up. I mean, as far as endings could go, this is
nice severance package.
Yeah, like it's definitely not one of the worst ways it could end. Hannah's getting the F out of his life so Ben can heal and recover. I like that he trusted her, which is kind of great and speaks to the friendship that they have. And Ben got saved. And OP's life didn't get destroyed, but not too bad.
I just can't wait to actually finish it the right way. My mind is running with so many things. Also, I think the truth will come out about Hannah later on whenever she posts a picture of her and Lucy on a beach trip, and they're like, my favorite gal.